one thing I want you to have in mind is the diesel engines have a lot more compression, as you may know, around 20 bar, 18, 20, and the gasoline has 10, 11, 9, kind of half. So, on the diesel engines, you need a much bigger battery, right? And you need a good quality battery, because on the Mjet and GTD engines, if you don't have at least 200 or 250 RPM per minute during the starting, the injectors will not open. You can crank all day long, and the engine will not start. It is the ECU that commands that only when you have at least 200 or 250 RPM per minute, only then the injectors will open. So you have your battery, you purchase your battery, and so, I don't know, 6 months later or 1 year later, your car starts very poorly. The main thing you have to have in mind is, if you don't have compression, your car will not start correctly. If you have low compression, because is this compression that will ignite the diesel. No compression, no ignition. Another thing, you saw already that your car has 20 bar on all 4 pots, and now your battery, which is new, you don't know if it is good or not. You also have to see, let's talk about batteries, but you also have to know your starter, as I told on the last starter video, has to be very quick. It has to be a very, very, very good starter. By the same reason, if you don't have a quick enough start, whether it be because of your starter or your battery, your ECU will not open the injectors. So you have good compression, you have a brand new and good starter, and the car does not start. Is it on point, the timing? Okay, yes it is. So your battery. What is this 55 amp hours? What is this 460 amps? This is here the capacity that the battery has to receive charge from the alternator. From every hour that passes, the battery can receive 55 amps. Okay? In this one here, for 460, it is the capacity that the battery has to give power to the starter. If this power is too low, imagine how much power do you think, how much amps do you think the starter needs to crank your engine, to crank your diesel engine? It's around, depends a lot of your engine, of course, but between 200 to 300 amps. So this gasoline battery here, for the gasoline engines, starts to be very tight. So imagine you have here a 70 or 75 amp hours battery, and you have only, I don't know, like 580, 600 amps. If you have 600 amps, it depends a lot on the quality of your battery. If you have one of those blue tops of Tudors or Bosch or Vartas, they really suck, because they can be just shy of 600, like for 580 amps maybe, but as time goes by, as time passes, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, this value here has to be here all the time. If you have a cheap battery or cheaper battery, this value here will decrease very, very rapidly. You don't want this value here to change very much. You only imagine in 5 years or 6 years that the battery has, it can only lose about 100 or 200 amps maximum. Because if you imagine this one 460, if I lose 200, I only have 260. It's not enough to crank a diesel engine. And this value here it is with the new battery. Don't you ever seen when guys connect a machine to check if the battery is good? What the machine is doing is seeing this value here. If this value decreases about below 70%, more or less, the battery is no longer good. Can you? I don't know if you are understanding me. Imagine something. You have a dead battery, 12 volt battery. You come here with a multimeter or with a multimeter. You check it. Okay, but this has 12 volts. How is this possible? This has almost. Oh my God, my multimeter is really giving me the shivers. 16 volts, not possible. Okay, you measure the value in this 1250. Imagine. Okay, perfect. 1250 is a good battery. Wrong. Because if you have 1250, okay, you have 1250 with a new or old battery, but it can only have like imagine 50 amps. If you have only 50 amps, you can turn on your radio, can turn on your lights, but when you want to crank your engine, it's gone. Okay, so don't cheap out on batteries, and be very careful on good batteries. Even with brand batteries, be very careful. Those with the blue top are not very good. Are really bad. I don't want to talk about this much, but it's the truth because every day I see this happening, and it cannot happen. It may not happen on other cars because the management of the crank can be different. On the multi-jet and the JTD engines, because of the opening of the injectors being has that minimum, you will notice with a bad battery. Okay, you will crank a lot, and the engine will not start because of the poor battery. For the 1.9 engines and the 2 liter and the 2.4. I will recommend at least 70 amp hours, at least 70 amp hours. 75 is good as well. The 80 is a bigger battery. Unfortunately, it does not work. And at least, please listen to me, at least 700 amps of crank. At least, because the crank, the value, this value here, is directly related to the quality of the battery. The better the battery is, the bigger the value here is. This is not something they choose to put in here because it's just a sticker. This is directly the product of the battery. The better the battery is, the most crank amps you will get. I was able to buy a battery. I don't remember the brand because it was a dealer, a brand battery. It was made by someone. I don't remember if it was Tudor or someone, but it had 75 amp hours and it had 800 amps. And it was true because I tested with the machine back in that dealer. And it measured 840 something amps. So it was true. That battery lasted me, at least 9 years. It was a very good battery don't cheap out on batteries, please. The more cheap the battery is, the least years it will last, the more problems will give you. Because if you have a longer crank, you will have more wear on your battery, you will have more wear on your starter, you have more wear on your alternator, because then he will have to charge this battery a lot more. Imagine something. If you have your crank in about 1.5 seconds, you lose imagine you lose 200 amps on your battery. And then the alternator will recharge the battery to complete that 200 amps. If you have a crank of 3, 4, 5 seconds, you will lose a lot more. You will lose, imagine 300 or 350. The alternator has to work much longer and much harder to recharge your battery. Can you? I don't know if you can understand what I'm trying to say. If you have a good battery, you will have a perfect charging and starting system. If you have a good battery, you will save your starter, you will save your alternator and your belt, because the belt does a lot less work, and so on. So don't cheap out on batteries. Be very careful how you buy your battery. Please look at these numbers here. This is the most important number. This one here. The higher, the best. Both, but the higher, the best. Okay? If you have a 60 on the puntos, and another, you have a 60 or 55 amp battery, you have space for more, okay, put a bigger battery. The alternator will survive. Will charge the battery. Okay? Yes, so spark plugs. I want to talk to you about spark plugs. It's really quick, I promise. I will not talk about the color of the burning, none of that. Imagine here, this is all equal spark plugs. It's not right now because I want to do some tests with you. This is the 4 spark plugs for your car. All the same brand. Everything it's good. And you have new spark plugs, you have new coils, new everything. Everything is perfect. Compression, ignition, timing, everything is simply perfect. And you have always the same problem. You have engine light on, and you have errors from your ignition. Problem with ignition of cylinder 1, 2, whatever. You say, but everything is new. How can I know what's the problem? And immediately you will say it can be the spark plugs because they are new. Not so quick, because in the modern car, the spark plug has a lot of resistance. In the middle here, it has it's not metal all the way. On the old spark plug, it was like this. It was a direct electrode, and it had very low resistance, almost like the glow plug. You have here one ohm. If this spark plug, imagine on your older 33 or another car, this spark plug suddenly has 300 ohms or more, it's bad. It's time to go to the bin, to the garbage. In the same way, on the modern spark plug, the resistance inside here is very high. It's around 6,000 ohms. 610, 616. If this resistance here drops to 3,000 or 4,000 or goes up all the way to 8, 10, garbage. It's gone. It's not good. Even if it's new, you have to have the 4 equal spark plugs, same resistance on all 4 spark plugs, and check every one of them when they are new. Also, don't quote me on this measurement, because every brand of spark plug and every type of spark plug for your specific engine has a specific resistance on the inside. So you have to know, when you are buying your spark plugs, you have to know how much resistance it is supposed to have inside the spark plug. And then, very simply, check every time your spark plugs. This is relatively new for me. I discovered this method some 4 or 5 years ago, and I really discovered some amazing things. Cars that have problems with new spark plugs, everything has been changed, and when you change everything, you start to think, no, maybe it's inside the engine, maybe it's a faulty valve, maybe it's something on the cylinder wall, maybe on the injectors, on my fuel pump, on whatever. And the problem was, ta-da, a bad spark plug. So the simple things sometimes are really tricky, but also simple to diagnose. Diagnose your problems before you change parts. Please. Okay? Here it is, guys. It was a little bit longer than I was expecting, but these things are just like this, because we are talking about some subject, and then this subject is always surrounded by other functions and functions as well. I hope you understand what I'm trying to do and I'm trying to say, because I hope you can understand better how your car works, how you can diagnose it better by your own, or see how others are doing it. So you can protect yourself, protect your car, and also understand better what it is to have a car, not just an Alfa Romeo, any car. Sometimes the problems start with ourselves, and we have to be conscious of that, and try to see these things in other forms, in other ways. I am not saying I know everything. I am learning every day, and I am passing to you this knowledge. Please, don't trust entirely on me. Go check it for yourself, but try to understand that I'm trying the best I can. Bye.